Hello everyone and welcome to Fiction Friday. Today we have episode 37 of The Squire. This is the second to last episode in our story, and as I get ready for the next series, I'd like to get some feedback from you. I'm currently debating between a sci-fi story and another epic fantasy. Please comment below and let me know your preference. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy today's show.
Cole looked at the orb and frowned. Perhaps he'd misunderstood. He willed the message to play again. Talia said, "Cole, you need to return to the capital at once. Zarin has made his next move. Hurry, we need you." No mistake. She wanted him to abandon his men and return to the palace. What could the Darkcaster be up to now, and more to the point, what did Talia want him to do about it? He was a soldier, not a caster. It didn't matter. If she needed him, he had to go. Cole caught Dane's attention and waved him over. "I've been ordered back to the capital. You'll have to take charge." Dane took a step back and swallowed. "I've never led men in combat. I'll get them all killed." "Relax. You saw what I did. Hold the line, don't give chase. Use your head, and you'll be fine." "Yes, sir. Why do you have to go back?" Cole shook his head. The Queen didn't specify, but it sounded like an emergency. Impossible as it seemed, Dane's eyes grew even wider. "The Queen herself summoned you back? Why are you still talking to me?" Cole chuckled. He couldn't argue with that. He clapped Dane on the shoulder and went to find his lightcasters. Cole found them moving amongst the wounded, binding the minor injuries and channeling the light to heal those with serious wounds. He hated to interrupt them, but he needed a portal. He waved the closest one over. "I need a portal to the palace." The lightcaster chewed his lip, and Cole frowned. They failed to kill the boar man. Could they not open a portal for him either? Whoever assigned lightcasters had screwed him over. "One moment, sir. We need to prepare." The lightcaster hurried over to his partner and they put their heads together. Cole didn't hear what they said, but after a minute of whispered conversation, the man turned to him. "I believe we can manage it, sir." "Then let's get going." They moved a few feet from the wounded and joined hands. Their free hands came up, and by painful degrees, a golden disc grew in the air before them. The instant it grew big enough for him to fit through, he sprinted forward and emerged in a field of corn stubble overlooking the capital. It looked like they missed by a mile, literally. Cole shook his head and broke into a jog that soon brought him to a dirt cart path. 10 minutes later, he trotted up to the palace. The guards all knew him by sight and waved him through the gates. He crossed the empty courtyard and ran up the short flight of steps to the main doors. He slipped inside and headed toward the throne room, knowing Talia would either be there or her casting chamber. To his immense relief, he found her pacing, alone in the throne room. She spun around when he entered. "What took you so long?" "My idiot lightcasters dropped me in some farmer's cornfield and I had to run a mile to the palace. I suspect it might be the first time the two of them have opened a portal." "Forget them. We have more pressing problems. Zarin has attacked the Darkness's prison, and with only 2 swords remaining, I fear he may destroy it. We need to go stop him." "When you say we, you mean all the lightcasters in Celestia, right?" "No," Talia said. "I mean you and me. Everyone else still has a war to fight. That's why he's chosen this moment to strike. He thinks we won't be in any position to stop him." "Are we in any position to stop him? You looked half dead a few days ago, and I can't even get close enough to hit him without getting blasted to bits." Talia stopped pacing, walked over and put her hands on his shoulders. "Don't mistake this slender, feminine form. I'm a good deal tougher than I look. Between the two of us, I'm confident we can defeat Zarin." Cole took a long look at the slender, feminine form and sighed. If he had to die, there was no one he'd rather be with. "What the hell? I haven't done anything really suicidal in days. Let's do it." Talia opened a portal with a wave of her hand and motioned Cole through. He steeled himself for instant disintegration and stepped through. He emerged in a forested glen. Streams of fog filtered through the clearing, and a short ways away, a gleaming white tower thrust up from the ground. It was a pretty spot, and if they lived, Cole thought it would be a nice place to come for a picnic. An explosion shook the ground and rattled some needles off the pines, ruining his pleasant thoughts. He had to keep his mind focused, kill the lunatic Darkcaster first, and plan his date later. Talia joined him in the clearing, and the portal vanished. Another blast shook the clearing. Zarin wasn't playing around by the sounds of it. "We need to hurry," Talia said. "The bindings grow more frayed by the second." "What's the plan?" "I'll handle the defense, and you focus on attacking. Remember, Zarin's a spirit inhabiting a dead body. Stabbing him in the heart won't stop him. You need to hack his body to pieces. Severing the head is especially important. Hold out your sword." Cole drew the royal blade and held it out. Talia's hands glowed as she made several mystic passes over it. The energy transferred between her and the blade. When she finished, she said, "I've strengthened the blade's inherent powers. Try to keep it between you and any attack Zarin may launch. Are you ready?" Cole nodded, not ready in the least. "Sure. Kill a 1,000-year-old undead Darkcaster. No sweat." "Don't worry. In the Great War, we killed creatures far more powerful than Zarin." He took a breath, nodded once, and stalked toward the tower. A thick layer of dead leaves crunched under his feet as he walked through the short patch of hardwood separating the glen from the tower. Another explosion rattled the trees and sent some leaves drifting down. Perhaps Zarin would tire himself out before Cole got there, and he wouldn't have enough power left to attack. Right, and maybe Cole could sprout wings and fly somewhere they didn't have monsters and Darkcasters. He emerged from the trees 75 yards from the base of the tower. Up close, it became clear how huge the structure was. It had to be 100 yards square and twice that tall. Black cracks ran through the white stone, and when the next explosion shook the ground, several more snaked up the wall. He needed to find Zarin fast. He found no sign of the Darkcaster on this side of the tower, so he retreated back to the edge of the trees and snuck around to the opposite side. Cole didn't know if he could sneak up on Zarin, but resolved to try anyway. Zarin stood 20 feet from the tower, arms raised. A huge ball of dark energy swirled between his hands. A blackened circle 30 feet up attested to Zarin's efforts. Cole's grip tightened on his sword. Wherever Talia had hidden herself, he hoped she was ready. The Darkcaster hurled the ball of energy toward the tower. The instant it left his hands, Cole charged. If he got to Zarin before he gathered more energy, maybe he could end the fight quickly. Zarin spotted him the instant he broke cover, and with a flick of his wrist, sent a stream of dark fire towards Cole. Please let Talia know what she's doing. He moved his sword between him and the stream of fire. The moment the dark power struck the edge of his blade, it guttered and died, vanishing before it harmed him. Cole remembered to breathe an instant after the attack failed. He covered the remaining distance and swung his sword at Zarin's neck. Sever his head, Talia said. That was the key to beating him. An instant before his blade would have hit Zarin's dead flesh, dark energy flashed and his blade bounced off an unseen barrier. Cole staggered back, his whole body thrown away from Zarin. He recovered just in time to cut through another blast. Cole grinned and twirled his sword. He had a chance if he could continue to block his opponent's attacks. Over Zarin's shoulder, the tower glowed with a pure white light, and the cracks sealed. Talia was using this opportunity to repair the damage. Zarin must have felt it. He spun around, and when he saw the glow, snarled, "No!" Cole charged again, eager to take any advantage of his opponent's moment of distraction. He barely managed 3 steps before a wall of black flames sprang up between him and the Darkcaster. He slid to a halt before he burned his face off. Damn it! A quick glance revealed the wall ran as far as he could see in either direction. How the hell was he supposed to get through that? He slashed his blade through it and cut a gash in the flames, which closed an instant later. Half a dozen swings, all with the same result, made it clear he needed a new strategy. He'd have better luck cutting water. An explosion shook the ground, followed in short order by several small blasts. A light in the sky caught his attention. It was Talia, her shining wings beating the air, dodging streams of dark fire. He had to help her. Cole glared at the wall of fire as though sheer will would destroy it. When that didn't work, it became clear drastic measures would be necessary. He backed up to get some room, raced forward, and leapt at the wall, sword leading. He cut a gash in the flames and flew through it before it closed. A somersault broke his fall, and he sprang to his feet, singed, but with all his parts intact. He wasted no time turning to run around the tower to help Talia. He rounded the corner and found Zarin on the ground, streams of dark fire shooting from his fingertips. Talia flew above him, dodging or deflecting his blasts, but seeming unable to counterattack. He didn't know if that was intentional or if she didn't have the strength to attack. Either way, he had no intention of letting her fight alone. Cole charged Zarin again. The Darkcaster must have sensed his approach. He spun and sent a blast of ebony flames his way. Cole hacked the burning strands out of his way and pressed on. From above, a beam of light energy hammered Zarin from behind and drew a snarl of pain. Cole hacked at his opponent, and again his sword slammed into the unseen barrier. Damn it! There had to be a way through. He gave Zarin no chance to recover, hacking at him again and again, never in the same place. Talia sent down an occasional blast when she could do so without frying him. A cloak of black flames formed around Zarin, Cole thought to protect him from the blows raining down on his now battered body. Cole drew back to strike again, and Zarin threw his hands out. Flames leapt in all directions, hitting him in the chest and sending him flying into the side of the tower. His breath rushed out and he slumped to the ground, gasping. Talia shrieked and sent her most powerful blast yet, raining down on Zarin's head. The Darkcaster staggered and waved his hand. A black disc appeared a few feet away, and Zarin staggered toward it. He managed to step before one of Talia's blasts collapsed his portal. She landed, hands glowing, eyes blazing with light fire. She looked every bit the angel she was. Cole staggered to his feet and limped toward her. "You may destroy me," Zarin said, "but I won't go alone." He lunged toward Talia and struck her in the chest with both hands. Dark fire blazed out and sent her sprawling. Cole lunged and slashed. The royal sword bit into the dead flesh and sent Zarin's head flying. The Darkcaster collapsed, dead for real now. Cole hacked off Zarin's arms and legs for good measure, then staggered toward Talia. He dropped to his knees beside her and took her hands. Her chest rose and fell, so she was still alive, thank the light. Her eyes flickered open and she smiled. "He's dead." Cole nodded. "You were right. Chopping his head off did the trick. Can you portal us out of here? You need a healer." She shook her head. "I have little power left, and it wouldn't matter if I did. This body is finished, as is my time in this world." "What? No! You can't die now! We just found each other!" Tears streamed down his face, but he didn't care. He couldn't lose her now, not after everything that had happened. Talia reached up and brushed the tears from his face. Cracks formed in her body and rays of light shot out. "I can stay a little longer. Help you finish your final task." "My final task?" He didn't know what she was talking about. "It isn't over yet. The Black Prince is still controlling the Beastmen. As long as he lives, he'll be a threat to the Lake Kingdoms. We'll stop him together." "How? You said you can't open a portal and Celestia is a long ways from here." She smiled, opening more cracks in her face. "How do you feel about flying?" Cole blinked, surprised at the question. "It's okay if you're a bird, I guess. Why?" Talia's body shattered, leaving behind an ethereal winged figure floating beside him. He stared, unable to take his eyes off her. This must be her true form. He reached out to touch her face, and his hand passed through her. She held out her arms as though to hug him, and her whole body enveloped him. Power unlike anything he'd ever experienced flooded him. "Are you ready?" she asked. "For what?" Cole rocketed into the air, and before he knew it, the island was nothing but a green blob below him. At this height, he should have been cold and gasping for air, but he felt nothing but warmth. Talia's essence protected him from exposure. He glanced over his shoulder and found great white wings beating through the air. "You look a proper angel now." Talia's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. He shot forward at a speed he wouldn't have thought possible. They streaked over the lake and soon passed over land again. Cole's eyes widened when he saw two tiny armies facing each other not far from the capital. A dark speck at the front of one of the armies drew his attention. The Black Prince stuck out like a rotten tooth. Cole plummeted to the ground, eager to cut him out.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Fiction Friday. If you liked what you heard, you can find more of my fiction on my website, jamesewisher.com. Please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with anyone else you think might enjoy the show. Until next week, goodbye.